Georginio Rutter is one of the success stories of the season at Leeds United, and I thought I'd take a deeper look at it. So I'm going to look at his origins at Leeds United and why everyone initially thought he was a bit of a flop, what's changed in the time since, and how he might go on to succeed at Leeds United, and what his place is here going forwards. And first up, we need to start with last January, January 2023, and the context that sort of led to him coming to Leeds. Now, we had a situation in which we quite desperately needed a striker. Patrick Bamford was consistently injured, Rodrigo was injured and inconsistent, Brendan Aronson had 9 shots on target all season, and behind that you had Joe Gelhardt, who was out on loan at Sunderland, and Sam Greenwood, who was more of a midfielder by this point. So the club decided to make a record signing in Georginio Rutter, spending something along the lines of, off the top of my head, £35 million if all of the bonuses and everything were to be paid. Massive investment in a player that had proven to have a little bit of potential abroad, with his time at Hoffenheim proving that he was good on the ball, but his finishing wasn't quite there. So it was definitely a risk, and it was a risk that at first did not look like it was paying off. He only got 273 minutes last season, at least in league matches, and 1 start, and that was in part because he didn't really fit the systems that his managers wanted him to. Allardyce played an incredibly aggressive, I say aggressive, defensively passive and transitionally aggressive form of football, in that he didn't like that tippy-tappy stuff, incredible tight passing patterns and platforms. He has a podcast that called the No Tippy Tappy Football Podcast, for God's sake. And you could tell that Rutter wasn't going to fit into that, especially when what he's good at is passing in tight spaces and the clever little dribbling stuff. And when it came to Javi Gracia just didn't seem to trust him. He also didn't seem to trust Nonto, which was a little bit weird, and those were 2 very promising players that didn't get many minutes at all in the second half of last season, despite being very, very promising footballers. Gracia's style was sort of pressing, sort of incredibly passive, and I don't think that Rutter's transitional football really translated well into that either. He showed really, really good signs against Southampton when we were able to win under Gracia, but it didn't translate very well going forwards. And he could have left in the summer. There was nothing keeping him at Leeds because, to be honest, a lot of attacking players saw the same thing. They saw Sinistera, for example. There's opportunities elsewhere. Same for Jack Harrison. Brendan Aronson's gone as well. Rodrigo saw Qatar as an option. And it's easy to see why, because the club weren't exactly in a good position. The dominoes were falling, and he could have left quite easily. There was interest from Lyon in either a loan or a permanent deal, I can't quite remember which. There was some interest from Dortmund, and for a player like Rutter, who would fit into the Dortmund way of playing, and they're really good at developing youth players as well, that would have been the perfect move. But instead, he chose to stay, sorry, and there were no rumours of him really forcing an exit, which is especially good when we still have players at the club, such as Somerville and Nonto, who reportedly tried to force their way out but weren't able to. Very, very clever from Rutter, because it meant that from the start of the season he got onto the good side of the fans, which is, I think, the start of his transition from seeing him as a flop to seeing him as at least someone that was dedicated, if not someone that had performed yet. And Rutter under Daniel Farke is someone that we really, really need to pay attention to, and is the start of the shift from player that might force a move away to player that we enjoy having here. And the first thing to make note of is his intelligent footwork. So I am going to see if I can bring up the right thing. That one. Even in the most recent match against, you could see, it makes it incredibly easy to just take on 1, 2, even the third defender here. Just disappears, beats them, wins the free kick 20, 30 yards up the pitch. And that is something that he's done all season long, because there are, if I can find it, I've forgotten to save the thing, complete highlight reels of Georginio Rutter taking players on time after time after time. Watford was one of his breakout matches, because he would just destroy their midfield and play balls into the attack and the wingers. And that is where his eye for a pass comes in. He got a fantastic assist against Norwich, and it's a ball that a lot of people wouldn't have seen. I have forgotten to enlarge the screen this time. There we go. So, picks up the ball here, and you can tell he's had a quick seen where the players are. Specifically, he's seen where Somerville is, seen that this defender isn't going to get to the ball if he waits it right, and he does. And Somerville just goes, finds a lot of space, cuts inside, wins 3-2. Rutter is a player that has 4 assists already this season, has only scored 2, and in, like, 10 matches, you might think that's sort of average, but the fact is he's not only getting those assists, he's getting pre-assists and creating plenty of opportunities for our players that aren't put away, and it's his consistency of performance that gets me as well. Very rarely have I looked at Georginio Rutter this season and gone, "That was a really below par performance," or "Rutter felt like he was massively off the ball in this match," because he just sort of blends in. What he does incredibly, and he does it on a constant basis, and his stats, like, really point that out. So you can see his assists, he's in the top percentile. His expected assist in the top percentile. The fact that this is above his assist says that he's creating those chances, they're just not getting finished for him at the moment. He's one of the best in combining expected assists and expected goals because he's a very creative player and is in the top 3% of shot creating actions. He's a stunning player. His progressive passing is off the charts. His progressive carries are incredible. His successful take-ons are great because he just knows what he's doing. He's even intercepting. He's playing a little bit of a box-to-boxy role at times, which is weird for his position. I'll get into that in a moment because he's just a sort of complete team player. I had a look at his the squad stats as well and goal-creating actions. He's 3 clear of second place, which is Dan James, who has 5. And Dan James is a very creative player at the moment because he's got a lot of assists. And Rutter's goal creating actions are he's got 6 from passing into space, into players that are able to create the opportunities that are able to score the goals. He's got 2 from take-ons. It's that nice little deft touch in the dribbling that I was talking about. And he's a complete team player because he doesn't just think about himself. He thinks about who he can create opportunities for, how he can create them, and ultimately taking leaps and bounds forwards to get the club where it needs to be. Now there's a question of where he fits into the lineup, and I've done a little bit of a tactical board here just to sort of run through it in a little bit more detail. So, in theory, Leeds are playing with more of a 4-3-2-1 kind of thing. This is the back line. Maybe Gray here sometimes. Maybe he'll play in midfield when Spence is fit, who knows. But at the moment, this is what the lineup looks like. On the face of it, Rutter is playing here. But in reality, I think he's more of a hybrid number 9, where he will happily drop all the way deep into here. So, for example, this video that I showed you, where he played a ball all the way from back here, he's been doing that from open play, as well as from corners and set pieces. He's dropping in deep, picking up the ball, and finding the clever pass that really breaks us out. If anything, I think he and Pirro are sort of equal here, with James and Somerville playing as inside forwards. Rutter is happy to find the space going forwards. He's happy to drop back. Pirro is happy to play in this space here, and he's happy to push on as a straight traditional number 9. I think we play as a more 4-2-4 than a 4-2-3-1. And if anything, I would argue that Georginio Rutter is the Pablo Hernandez replacement that the club has been looking for since Hernandez left at the end of Bielsa's first season. He's able to find that pass that no one else can. He's able to take that magic touch that a lot of the players on the pitch don't have. Jack Harrison was incredible with his first touch, but I think Rutter just takes that up another level because he knows what he's doing after that first touch. And ultimately, I think Rutter has gone through a very, very quick revolution from what could be a transfer flop of £35 million to the very top of the squad, and if we get promoted, he'll really start to prove himself further. Hope you enjoyed the video. Comment what you think below and like it. Subscribe if you like. Even become a channel member. That's hugely appreciated. I will see you later.